Yo, stop scrolling. Stop everything. A 12-year-old just walked into a live stream, looked her own mother in the face, and asked 20 million strangers for money on camera. And the woman crouched off-frame, wiggling her fingers like a stagehand, wasn't a stranger. It was Kim Kardashian. And what most of you missed is that this wasn't a slip. This wasn't a kid being a kid. This was Northwest pulling a fire alarm inside the Kardashian compound and watching her mother try to talk her way out of a building that was already burning. Kanye saw it. Kanye lost it. Lawyers got dialed. Cease and desist got drafted. And by the time Kim's PR machine printed the cleanup statement, the screenshots were already on every timeline on the planet. This is Melanin Scope Media, and we don't follow the narrative, we autopsy it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, lock your notifications, because by the time we're done, you're going to look at this household differently for the rest of 2026. And I promise you, by the third act of this video, I'm going to show you a piece of body language Kim made on that live stream that nobody on the internet has decoded correctly. Stay with me. You're going to see this whole story rewire itself in real time. Because once you see what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee it. And the household knows it. And the household is already trying to bury it. Now let me set the scene the way the rest of the internet refused to. January 2026. Late evening. North logs onto Instagram Live. 20.7 million TikTok followers across her shared account, 1.8 million on her solo Instagram, and a viewing count that detonated within minutes. Kim is in the room, but not on camera. She's hovering off frame, doing that little ghost hand gesture, the kind of hand that says I'm here without ever having to be accountable for being here. And then North does it. She tells the audience, plain as morning, that she wants her mom on camera because she wants some money. 12 years old. Live feed. Whole planet listening. The kind of sentence that ends careers, said with the casual energy of somebody ordering fries at a window. The internet froze. Kim made a noise that anybody with siblings recognizes immediately. It wasn't shock. It was a reflex. The reflex of somebody who got caught lacking and knew the camera was rolling. And the room around her, the lighting, the angle, the half-pulled curtain, all of it tells you something nobody is saying out loud. That set wasn't a bedroom. That set was a soundstage. And the only person who didn't know it was supposed to be a soundstage was the kid sitting on the bed. Or maybe she did know. Maybe she knew exactly what the room was. And that's why she said what she said. Hold that thought, because we are coming back to it. And when we come back to it, the entire framing of this case is going to flip on you. Hours later, the cleanup arrived. Kim's people pushed a statement saying she misunderstood her daughter, that she thought North was asking for personal money, not, and this is the actual phrasing they used, discussing how TikTok creators monetize. Pause. Let that sit on your tongue. They want you to believe a 12-year-old, in the middle of a live stream, was delivering a calm explainer on creator economy mechanics. That's not a clarification. That's a flotation device thrown by a publicist. And the second they said it out loud, anybody with a working frontal lobe knew the spin was thinner than the Wi-Fi in a Tanzanian airport. Because here's the part nobody else is saying. Kim wasn't surprised by what North said. She was surprised the camera was still on. There is a difference between those two surprises, and that difference is the entire story. The first surprise is parental. The second surprise is operational. And Kim, that night, was operating, not parenting. And the household, behind closed doors, is doing exactly what every brand under siege does. Switching publicists. Tightening NDAs. Rehearsing sound bites. The live wasn't just a moment. It was a stress test. And the stress test exposed every crack in the foundation that the marble countertops were busy hiding. Now rewind. Because this isn't North's first time pulling the curtain back. And this isn't Kim's first time tripping over her own talking points. October 2025. North posts a TikTok with face tattoos, blue contacts, and a faux septum piercing on Kim's account. The internet roasts the household for a week. Kim slides onto Goat Talk on Complex, sits down with her All's Fair co-star Sarah Paulson and Niecy Nash, and drops two sentences that aged like room temperature seafood. Quote, North, if she ever posts a TikTok, it's on my phone, so she has to ask my approval, and then I post it. Whatever. 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 Did you catch it? The whatever. 3 times. I want you to imagine any other parent on planet Earth saying the word whatever about content their child pushes to 20 million people. You can't, because no other parent talks like that. Whatever isn't a word a gatekeeper uses. It's the linguistic fingerprint of somebody who already lost the room and is pretending the room doesn't exist. And the second she let that word slip 3 times in a row, every family law attorney in Los Angeles bookmarked the timestamp. They didn't bookmark it because of the content. They bookmarked it because of the cadence. Because cadence reveals composure, and composure reveals authority, and authority reveals who is actually running the household. The cadence said no one is. Same interview, she goes deeper. Quote, It's really hard and it's really interesting because all the kids are wearing the same things, but then my daughter tries to wear it, and then I'm like, okay, we're never wearing that again. Unfortunately, we made that mistake in front of the whole world. Stop. Read it again. We made that mistake in front of the whole world. That is not a sentence a mother says about her daughter's outfit. That is a sentence a brand manager says about a botched product launch. The mistake wasn't the outfit. The mistake was the visibility. The mistake was being seen. And once you hear it through that filter, every other quote out of that house starts to translate itself in real time. The "we made that mistake" construction is also worth holding for a second. We. Plural. Who is we? North is 12. North didn't write a press strategy that morning. The we is Kim and her team. The we is a we that does not include the daughter. The we is the company. And the daughter is the campaign. And once you start hearing the corporate we instead of the maternal we, you cannot unhear it. It will be in every interview Kim does for the rest of the decade. Then comes Call Her Daddy, also October 2025, with Alex Cooper. Kim leans in and says North will tell her, "Mom, I saw this and I don't really care if someone says they don't like my blue hair." And Kim's response, "Babe, if you want blue hair, it is what it is." It makes her so happy. I would never take that creativity away from her. On paper, that's a Pinterest quote. In context, with what came next on Instagram Live, that quote is a fingerprint at a crime scene. Because the same creativity she refused to interrupt is the creativity that put a child on a public broadcast asking strangers to fund her allowance. Kim really thought that line was going to age like wine. It aged like milk left in a Bentley. And the more time she rehearses that talking point, the more transparent it becomes that creativity is the public-facing word for content. They are not the same thing. Creativity does not require a ring light. Content does. Creativity does not require a brand deal. Content does. Every time Kim swaps content for creativity, she is laundering business through poetry. And the laundering is starting to show on the receipts. Now let's bring in Kanye, because the man has been screaming about this since 2022, and the internet keeps treating him like the unhinged one while ignoring that the receipts have his name on them. After then 8-year-old North did a TikTok lip-syncing Machine Gun Kelly with cousin Penelope, Kanye posted to his Instagram and went straight to the camera. Quote, "I just got off the phone with Kim, and I told her to stop antagonizing me with this TikTok thing. I am her father. I know y'all don't respect fathers and the idea of family. I'm not allowing my daughter to be used by TikTok to be used by Disney. I have a say-so. Stop on that phrase. I have a say-so. Not I have a say. A say-so. That's regional, defensive, emphatic, and emotionally specific. That's not the language of a man asserting authority. That is the language of a man mourning the fact that authority has already been redistributed without him in the room. 4 years before this Instagram Live blew up, Kanye was already typing in past tense about a battle he hadn't lost yet, but already felt slipping. And here's the part that breaks his case. The same year he wrote that, he was also publicly going through one of the most documented mental health spirals of his entire career. So when his lawyers try to argue stable parental presence in April, the timeline is going to walk in and sit in the back of the courtroom uninvited. The timeline is the only witness in this case that nobody can pay off, and the timeline is wearing a tie. Kim's clapback the same day, posted to her Instagram stories, hit just as loud. Quote, "Kanye's constant attacks on me in interviews and on social media is actually more hurtful than any TikTok North might create." Translate that sentence. She just compared a custody-grade public dispute to a 12-second dance video and said the dispute hurts more. That's not co-parenting. That's two adults using their kids as referees in a fight neither of them came to win. And that single sentence is the reason this case is going to drag through 2026 like a cinder block tied to an ankle. Because once one parent files a hurt claim in public, every motion afterward is litigated in the comment section before it ever sees a judge. The judge becomes the second audience. The first audience is the timeline. The timeline is the one that pays. Fast forward, May 2025. Kanye's lawyers fire off a formal cease and desist. The letter accuses Kim of exploiting North for personal or commercial gain by posting public event content of their daughter online. The same letter flagged that North was reportedly left unattended in a car at one point during the Met Gala, which Kanye called a safety risk. And here is where the irony detonates. Because while Kanye was filing about safety risks, sources reported he was hosting Andrew and Tristan Tate. Hosting, not bumping into. Hosting. So now we have a man drafting a paragraph about his daughter's safety, while his weekend guest list looks like a podcast his daughter shouldn't even know exists. Any decent legal advisor would have said, "Brother, clean your own driveway before you screenshot the neighbors." But Kanye stopped having advisors years ago. He has a phone, a grudge, and a notes app. And those three tools have lost more cases than they've won. And they're about to lose another one in a marble courtroom in front of cameras that will never forget what gets said inside. Cameras have longer memories than men. That's a rule. Kim's response during the Kardashian Season 7 premiere was clinical. Quote, "It's a divorce, not a kidnapping. We haven't left. We're in the same spot. We have the same address, so he knows where his kids are." Then she added, "I raised the kids full time. They live with me, and I welcome a great, healthy relationship with my kids and their dad. I push for it all the time." Listen to the architecture of that. It's a divorce, not a kidnapping. That is a billion-dollar one-liner. Surgically delivered. Calibrated for headlines. But underneath the polish, it's also a sentence designed to weaponize geography. Same address, same spot. As if proximity equals access. As if a zip code can do the work of co-parenting. It can't. And every family law attorney watching that interview that night marked the timestamp. Because here's the legal trick hidden inside that line. Same address is not the same as same availability. A father can know where his kids live and still be locked out by a buffer of staff, schedules, and unanswered texts. Kim knows that. Her lawyers know that. And the line was constructed to make Kanye look like the irrational one for asking a question that has a much more complicated answer than the address bar suggests. That is not a clapback. That is a deposition rehearsal disguised as a confessional. Now here is where I want to slow down and connect the dots, because nobody is laying the timeline out properly, and that is exactly why nobody understands what they're watching. Kanye's first Instagram explosion about TikTok lands in 2022. North's solo Instagram debut, December 2024. The Coliseum platform boots Rome trip with Kim, summer 2025. The face tattoo TikTok, October 2025. The cease and desist, May 2025. The Lonely Roads Still Go to Sunshine track surfaces March 2025 with Diddy's voice on it. Coachella appearance with Kim and Lewis Hamilton watching Justin Bieber, April 11th. Instagram Live Money moment, January 2026. Custody hearings, April 2026. Lay those dominoes out and look at the spacing. Every escalation by North on social media is followed within a tight window by a Kanye legal move. That isn't coincidence. That's a feedback loop. Every time the kid posts loud, the dad files paper. Every time the dad files paper, the kid posts louder. And the parent in between, the one with the camera and the platform, isn't slowing the loop down. She's monetizing the loop's every revolution. The loop is the product. The kid is the engine. The lawsuit is the marketing. And the audience is the customer. And the customer keeps paying with attention, which is the only currency that actually compounds in this household. The cease and desist itself dropped roughly a month after Coachella, right when Kim's social calendar with North was peaking, and right when Kanye was reportedly entertaining the Tate brothers. Worst possible timing. A halfway competent legal team would have told him to delay, clean the optics, and file from a glass house with the curtains drawn. He didn't. Because Kanye doesn't do strategy anymore. He does spectacle. And spectacle is loud. But spectacle does not scale in a courtroom where a judge is looking at a binder and a calendar at the same time. Spectacle gets you trending. Spectacle does not get you visitation. Let's talk about the song, because this part is criminally underdiscussed. Kanye pushes to release a track with North's vocals on it while Diddy is sitting under serious federal allegations. Kim is reportedly vehemently opposed. An emergency mediation gets called March 14th. Kim, Kanye, attorneys, a mediator, the whole apparatus. Kanye verbally agrees in mediation that Friday not to release the song. He releases it that weekend anyway. His justification, posted to X, was 6 words. The man makes the final decision. Not I make the final decision for my children. Not as their father, I am asserting decision-making authority. The man makes the final decision. That's not a statement. That's a slogan. That's a man turning a custody disagreement into a gender war for the audience because he knows the audience is easier to win than the courtroom. And every word in that post is going to be in the discovery binder when April rolls around. You don't sign a mediation agreement on Friday and break it on Saturday and expect a judge to call you a stable co-parent on Monday. The math doesn't math. And the math doesn't get any kinder when you remember the song's title. Lonely Roads Still Go to Sunshine is itself a thesis statement about a man trying to spin abandonment into uplift. The melody is bait. The verse is the violation. The credit is the contract breach. The streaming royalties are the trail of breadcrumbs leading directly to the binder. Sources later told outlets Kim was particularly distressed by North's association with Diddy, calling it both heartbreaking and unforgivable. The word unforgivable is doing heavy lifting in that sentence, especially when you remember the divorce settlement gives them equal say on decisions for the kids. So Kanye didn't bend the agreement. Kanye announced the violation in writing with a beat behind it. The question isn't whether he broke the agreement. The question is why nobody, until now, has had the receipts in front of them in chronological order. And the second-tier question is even sharper. If Kim called it unforgivable in a leaked source quote, why didn't she file an emergency motion the same week? Because filing means visibility, and visibility means the audience finally gets to see how broken the back end of this co-parenting agreement actually is. So the unforgivable stayed unforgiven and unfiled, and the song stayed up because both parents had something to lose by escalating it past the leak. The leak was the leak because the leak is cheaper than the courtroom. And cheaper, in this household, is always the operating principle, even when the price is a child. Now the platform math. The shared TikTok account, Kim and North, sits at 21.1 million followers and 140.1 million likes. North's solo Instagram, around 1.8 million. Her TikTok footprint personally hovers near 20.7 million. Run those numbers against a Fortune 500 brand, and she outreaches half of them. We are talking about a child whose audience size makes her one of the most influential 12-year-olds in the recorded history of the internet. And the people making platform decisions for her are two people who don't speak without lawyers in the room. Kanye really thought a cease and desist was going to unscramble that egg. That ship sailed in 2022. The yoke is on the wall. And the wall is in a house that 20 million people walk through every week without paying rent. The audience is not a guest in that house. The audience is a tenant. And the tenant has more leverage than either landlord wants to admit out loud. Because once a kid that age touches the third rail of public money on camera, the rail is hot for the rest of her childhood. There is no putting that voltage back. There is only learning to live with the burn. And this household has never been good at admitting it got burned. And then there's the corset moment in Rome. Sources told Globe magazine Kanye thinks his 12-year-old daughter is way too young to be parading around like this, and warned it needed to stop, or he would raise hell with the lawyers. Same sources flagged the irony, in their words, that it is ridiculously ironic that Kanye is unhappy about this given he dresses Bianca in revealing outfits 7 days a week, and encouraged Kim to push the envelope with sexy belly-bearing fashion choices the entire time they were together. That's not a fan opinion. That's an industry insider drawing a line through Kanye's own timeline. Kanye really thought nobody would connect those dots. The dots were already connected on a wall in Calabasas with red string between them. The string was tied by a stylist, a publicist, and a lawyer he stopped paying 18 months ago. And the wall with the string with the dots has its own group chat now, and the group chat does not respond to him anymore. Now here is where I'm going to take you somewhere the rest of the internet refused to go, because I want you to look at the language. Forget the headlines. Forget the gossip. Look at the words. Zoom in on Kim's whatever from Goat Talk. That single word, dropped 3 times in a sentence about her daughter's content for 20 million followers, is the entire parenting strategy in 2 syllables. Whatever isn't dismissive of the haters. Whatever is dismissive of the approval process itself. A real gatekeeper doesn't say whatever about what their child posts. A real gatekeeper says no, or let me see it again, or send it to me first. Whatever is what you say when you've already lost the argument and don't want to say so out loud. Kanye really didn't catch that. That's the receipt that wins the custody case if his lawyers have the patience to print it. And patience, historically, is not a thing the West legal team has been able to spell. They keep showing up loud when the situation needed silent. They keep showing up public when the situation needed sealed. Now zoom in on Kim's clarification about the money moment. She said she thought North was asking personally, not discussing how TikTok creators make money. Look at the construction. The fallback isn't my daughter would never. It's I'm misunderstood. That is a PR pivot, not a maternal one. A confident mother says I was teaching my daughter about responsibility. A brand manager says I misunderstood. The vocabulary tells you who was actually drafting the response in the group chat that night. And the person drafting that response was not the person who gave birth to the child. The person drafting that response was the person who knows how to keep a contract intact through a news cycle. And keeping a contract intact in this household has always taken priority over keeping a childhood intact. That is not opinion. That is observable from the public-facing receipts. Zoom in on Kanye's I have a say-so. The grammar is doing more work than the grammar wants to do. A say-so, not a say. That phrasing is regional. That phrasing is defensive. That phrasing is a man who already feels overruled trying to perform authority on a stage where the audience already left. For years later, his vocabulary hasn't evolved. Same phrase, louder microphone, same outcome. Repetition is not victory. Repetition is just evidence that the same argument keeps losing in front of slightly different juries. And the jury that matters most, his own kids, isn't even old enough yet to render a verdict. But they will be. And when they are, the verdict will not be appealable. Zoom in on the ex-post. The man makes the final decision. 6 words. No name. No specific reference. That's branding. That's a slogan disguised as a position. He didn't say I make the final decision about my children. He said the man, capital T, capital M, turning a custody dispute into a gender ideology rally because he understood, correctly, that ideology travels faster than nuance. And if Kanye had advisors with even half a brain, that post would have been killed before it cleared a draft. It wasn't, because there are no advisors. There is a phone in a hotel room and a man yelling at it. And the phone has a posting button that does not ask follow-up questions. And so the posting button keeps winning. And finally zoom in on the gesture nobody else is decoding. Kim's finger wiggle off camera during the live. Watch that footage and ask what that gesture is actually accomplishing. It says I am here without saying I am here. It is a parent who wants the credit of presence without the accountability of being seen. That 2-second hand flick, more than any tweet or any quote, is the entire Kardashian parenting philosophy compressed into a single piece of body language. If Kanye understood subtlety, he'd have clipped that gesture, slowed it to half speed, captioned it, and built an entire exhibit around it. He didn't, because Kanye doesn't read the small stuff. He only reacts to the big stuff. And that is exactly why he keeps losing the narrative he claims to be fighting for. The small stuff is where custody cases actually live. The big stuff is where headlines live. He keeps showing up to the wrong fight. And every time he shows up to the wrong fight, the right fight slips one notch further out of his reach. Now let's audit the media coverage, because the framing tells you who is being sold to whom. Complex framed the GOAT talk moment as Kim being a savvy, self-aware mother letting her daughter develop. That's the soft spin, the brand-safe interpretation that protects the talent. But run Complex's framing against the actual one-word transcript, and the framing collapses on itself. Complex called her self-aware. The transcript called her whatever. Pick a lane. TMZ ran the cease and desist as Kanye loses it, painting him as the unhinged one. TMZ conveniently left out the timeline overlap with the Tate brothers situation. So TMZ framed Kanye as a tantrum dad, while the actual paperwork framed him as a parent with legitimate decision-making rights buried under his own self-sabotage. Both are true. TMZ only printed the half that drives the click. The other half got buried in a paragraph 14 scrolls down, because the other half doesn't fit on a thumbnail. Thumbnails are the new headline. Headlines used to be 12 words. Thumbnails are 3. And 3 words can't carry a full custody story, so 3 words pick a side, and the side picked is the side advertisers can sleep next to. Hello Magazine pulled in Dr. Jonas Cyril-Saikin for the parenting expert angle and framed the situation as a developmental concern about Kanye's intermittent presence. Quote, "When children see their father sporadically, they struggle to develop secure attachment and form healthy internal working models for future relationships." Hello framed that as a critique of Kanye. But run that same quote against Kim's "We have the same address" line, and the framing applies to both parents who are using a zip code as a substitute for actual co-parenting strategy. The expert wasn't quoted to indict Kanye. The expert was quoted to indict the entire household. The magazine just edited which side of the indictment made the headline. And the side that made the headline was the side with fewer billable lawyers attached to it. That is not journalism. That is risk management dressed in a column inch. Then there's the counter-narrative crowd. Kanye's fanbase is screaming this is all Kim's manipulation, that she's pushing North out there for streams. Some of those same people thought Kanye agreeing in mediation and then dropping the song that weekend was alpha behavior. That's not alpha. That's a contract violation with a beat behind it. If you still think Kanye has the moral high ground after that timeline, you're not analyzing. You're rooting. And the Kim defenders calling her Mother of the Year after the live, same problem. The same crowd that handed her the trophy in the first 10 minutes had to walk it back in the next 10. The receipts don't pick sides. The receipts are math. Both parents are losing the optics war while the daughter holds the megaphone. And the megaphone is plugged into a wall the parents do not own. The wall is a server farm in 3 different states, and the server farm answers to a content moderation team that does not return either parent's calls. Now here is where I have to tell you what nobody else will tell you. Mainstream media wants this story to stay a custody dispute. Mom versus dad, Kim versus Kanye, brand versus authenticity. That is the safe narrative. The monetizable narrative. The one every outlet from Complex to TMZ to Page 6 is feeding you because outrage between 2 billionaires sells at inventory better than anything since the last royal funeral. But that framing is a costume, and the body inside it is doing something different. This isn't a custody battle. This is a hostile brand takeover. And Northwest is the asset both sides are fighting over. Stay with me. Think about it as a corporate war. Kim runs the bigger platform. TikTok, Instagram, schemes integrations, the entire Kardashian distribution ecosystem. Kanye runs the legacy IP. The West name, the music catalog, the cultural credibility that even his worst week can't fully erode. North is the merger asset. She has both bloodlines, both audiences, and a platform reach most adult celebrities would commit financial crimes to acquire. And the dirty secret nobody is saying out loud is that neither parent is actually fighting about her well-being. They are fighting about who gets to monetize her arrival into adulthood. The custody hearing is a board meeting in a wig. The lawyers are co-founders in suits. And the kid is the IP both founders forgot to register in her own name. And the day she registers herself is the day both founders find out their company never actually existed. Replay Kanye's "I have a say so" through that lens. That's not a father's instinct. That's a co-founder demanding board representation. Replay Kim's "I would never take that creativity away from her" through that lens. That's not maternal generosity. That's a CEO protecting brand equity. Both statements use parenting language to camouflage business positioning. Kanye is playing checkers, screaming about ownership in public, while Kim is playing chess, quietly writing the operating manual offstage. Neither one is asking what North wants. Because in the boardroom, you don't ask the asset what the asset wants. You ask the asset to perform. And the deeper truth, the part that's going to make some of you uncomfortable, is that the entire Kardashian ecosystem was built on a leak. A camera in a private room turned into a public empire. So when you ask how could Kim let her daughter ask for money on a live stream, you're really asking how does a person whose family fortune started with the violation of off-camera understand the concept of off-camera? She doesn't. The infrastructure isn't designed for it. Kim is parenting in real time without a template, because her own template was monetization first. That's not an attack. That's a math equation. And Kanye, on the other side, is fathering in real time without a template, because his template collapsed somewhere between Donda and the Yeezy season chaos. He represents the old god concept of the father has the final say, and the culture moved past that idea about a decade ago. Every time he tweets the man makes the final decision, he is broadcasting his own irrelevance to a generation that no longer believes the bloodline determines the verdict. He thinks he's giving a victory speech. He's giving a eulogy. And the eulogy is being delivered to a room that already left the funeral. And here is the historical pattern nobody wants to mention, because it's the one that should scare everybody. We have seen this exact movie. Michael Jackson and his children. Britney Spears and the conservatorship. Macaulay Culkin's entire childhood. Every time the entertainment industry produces a child raised inside a brand, the same fault lines crack open. Parental absence, public exposure, monetization disguised as opportunity, and a child who eventually grabs the megaphone and says something the adults around them have no clean response for. North is following a script that was written before she was born. She didn't sign up for the part. She inherited it. And the inheritance came with a ring light, a green room, and a stage manager who happens to share her last name. The inheritance also came with a clause nobody read out loud. The clause says the brand outlives the parent. The clause says the kid eventually owns the rights. And the clause is being triggered in real time, on a live stream that Kim should have shut off 10 seconds sooner. The scary part of the timeline is that based on what we just lined up, the next stage isn't everyone calms down. The next stage is the kid going public against both parents. That April 2026 custody hearing is not the climax. That hearing is the warm-up. The real story isn't who wins legal custody. The real story is who gets to claim moral custody when North turns 18 and writes her own narrative in her own voice on a platform her parents don't control. And right now, both Kim and Kanye are losing that race in slow motion, on camera, in front of an audience that is taking notes. Notes get cited later. Notes get printed in books. Notes outlive press releases. Notes are the thing both parents forgot to factor in when they let the live stream stay on. The industry will tell you it's a he said, she said. Real talk, this is a slow-motion cautionary tale. And the only person currently telling the truth in this entire circus is a 12-year-old who asked strangers for money on a live stream. She is not the embarrassment. She is the receipt. And that is the truth they will not tell you, because the truth doesn't sell ad space. It shuts the conversation down. So what happens next? Mark this. When April 2026 hits and those custody hearings open, Kanye is going to walk in swinging and walk out smaller. He is going to show up with that cease and desist as Exhibit A and try to weaponize the live moment against Kim. The minute opposing counsel pulls up his X timeline, the Diddy collab release, the Tate brothers visit, and the months of no-contact stretches with his children, the judge's face is going to do something Kanye has never seen a judge's face do for him. Kanye is going to look desperate waving paperwork while his own receipts wave back at him from the other side of the room. The silence from the kids he hasn't seen consistently is going to hurt him more than any motion he files. And when the ruling lands the way it is most likely to land, primary custody staying with Kim, supervised or scheduled visits with Kanye, he is going to do what Kanye always does. He is going to take it to the timeline. Expect a song. Expect a live. Expect a manifesto. None of it will move the needle. Because the culture has already filed him under screaming into the void, and the algorithm has stopped boosting that file. Now, if Kim gets confident and pushes for full legal custody, she is going to walk into a buzzsaw she does not see coming. Kanye will weaponize every TikTok, every corset photo, every Coachella clip, every face tattoo, every Met Gala unattended car moment, and every whatever Kim has ever uttered on a podcast. In that scenario, the court of public opinion shifts overnight. Kim is not ready for the documentary that paints her as the architect of North's exposure. She wins the case and loses the brand. In that alternate future, watch for North to start subtly distancing on her own platforms. Fewer joint posts with mom. More solo content. More individual creator framing. That is the warning shot. Once that pattern starts, the Kardashian ecosystem cracks for the first time in 20 years, and Kim's biggest legacy threat won't be Kanye. It will be her own daughter rebranding away from her in real time. Either way, the empire loses a load-bearing wall by the end of 2026. And the load-bearing wall is the daughter. Once that wall starts moving, the ceiling starts negotiating with gravity, and gravity does not lose those negotiations. Look at the bigger picture. This whole saga is going to become a case study. Universities will teach it. Family law firms will cite it. Future child influencer legislation will reference it by name. When this hits the textbooks, Kanye's name will be attached to the chapter on absent oversight, and Kim's name will be attached to the chapter on managed minority. Neither chapter is flattering. Neither chapter ends with a hero shot. And both chapters are going to be footnoted with screenshots that nobody currently in that household has the political will to delete. And when those footnotes appear in print, the people teaching the class will not need to comment on them. The footnotes will do the commenting on their own. And watch the platform side. Expect Instagram and TikTok to start tightening rules around minor accounts inside the next 18 months, partly because of this exact situation. The Northwest case is going to be the lever activists, lawyers, and lawmakers pull when they push for protections similar to the old Coogan law for child actors, but rewritten for the creator economy. North is unintentionally rewriting the rulebook for every famous child who comes after her. And 5 years from now, when North is 17, when the first real autobiography or essay or interview drops in her own words, that is the moment Kanye's "I have a say" so gets quoted next to Kim's "whatever," and the culture finally renders its verdict. Both parents are going to look back at January 2026 as the month they lost the narrative for good. The month the daughter became a witness. The month the witness became the storyteller. The month the storyteller put the parents in the footnotes of their own empire. The next time you see Kim post a glossy carousel of mother-daughter content, remember the wiggle. Remember the whatever. Remember the cleanup. Remember which we she meant. Because every post after January 2026 is now litigation in a filter. Whatever happens, one thing is locked in. Kanye already lost. Kim is losing. The only person walking out of this with leverage is the 12-year-old they keep arguing about. The finger wiggle off camera will outlive every cease and desist in that household. The whatever will outlive every podcast appearance. And when North picks up the pen on her own story, neither parent is going to like the protagonist they raised. Because the protagonist, finally, will not need their phone to post. The protagonist will have a phone of her own, a contract of her own, a publishing deal of her own, and a verdict on her parents that nobody, no PR team, no glam squad, no legal retainer will be able to walk back. And the verdict will not need a courtroom to be enforced. The verdict will need only a caption, a timestamp, and a generation already trained to believe the witness over the press release. The witness wins this one. The press release loses. And the household, finally, has to live inside a story it can no longer edit. If you made it this far, you already know we don't follow narratives at Melanin Scope Media. We dissect them. We pull them apart on the table and show you the wiring underneath. So hit that like button if this changed how you saw this story. Hit subscribe if you want the receipts before the rest of the internet catches up. Turn your notifications on, because when April 2026 hits and those courtroom doors open, we are going to be the first ones with the breakdown nobody else has the courage to print. Drop your verdict in the comments. Team Nobody, Team Receipts, Team the Kid with the Megaphone. We see you. We read every comment. And we'll be back with more sooner than you think. Stay locked. The story is just clearing its throat. The first witness has not even been sworn in yet. And when she is, none of us, including Kim, including Kanye, including the press, are going to be ready for what she says. So save this video. Send it to the friend who still thinks this is a he said, she said. And meet me back here when the hearing drops. We will be ready. Will they? That's the only question that matters now. And the answer is loading. Lock in. We will see you soon.